Hello everyone, my name is Matthew and on behalf of the organisers, Oliver Kinross, would like to welcome you to the latest Festival of BIM and Digital Construction webinar. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all of our sponsors, but with special mention of Cloudalize, our sponsor for today's session. Today's webinar will feature a discussion on laying the foundation to a successful BIM implementation on the cloud. There will be time for Q&A at the end, so take the opportunity to submit your questions to the speakers by clicking on the questions box on the right-hand side of your screen. I'd now like to pass over to Cloudalize for their session.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Cloudalize webinar and live demo hosted by our partners at Festival of BIM and Digital Construction. Today's title, Laying the Foundation Stone of Successful BIM Implementation on the Cloud. The webinar today is broken into 3 parts. Eric and I will give a short presentation of 30 minutes. Eric is my colleague who works in sales and he's account manager for Europe and North America. The demo will be with Kunrad, who is technical engineer and pre-sales personnel. And Eric also will join with the demo. And then the panel discussion and Q&A session is with Ben Agents of BIM's consultancy here in Belgium, and Alistair Lewis of IR Chamberlain Gaunt Architects in the UK, who use Cloudalize every day. Okay, so every business faces challenges, but what are those specifically faced by the architectural practices and construction firms out there? Standardization of processes and software between different project stakeholders is one issue faced by many who contact us each week. The different operating systems between architects and the client, the civil engineer and the site supervisor. Depending on the size of the project, there can be 5 to even 1,000 people working on site. People think that real-time collaboration is transferring the project files onto a ruggedized laptop with a USB to bring it on site to show stakeholders. Perhaps screenshots on a tablet, the former being Windows while the latter being Android. However, they are not integrated. It's not possible to control costs this way. Buying, setting up, upgrading and maintaining devices on multiple operating systems is expensive and time-consuming. All the different links, operating systems, devices is enough to give IT and the project manager a cranial 404 error. So, what is the solution? Well, answers on a postcard, but I think it's quite obvious. The answer is BIM on the cloud. The architecture and construction sectors have been identified by a Harvard Business Review as being the least digitalized sectors of the economy. Both BIM and the cloud can kickstart digitalization efforts. It can help reach business goals and governmental or industrial regulatory objectives. BIM on the cloud links the physical and digital worlds by standardizing and unifying all processes, workflows, and software together on one common platform for you to get the job done on time and on budget. But wait, BIM on the cloud, I can already see you all before you reach for the paracetamol. BIM means a lot of things to a lot of people and can be a minestrone soup of different terms and other things like different platforms, coordinated approach, innovation, modeling, analysis, real-time collaboration. The objective is to go from this to this, and Cloudalize can help you do this by locating all the core elements on one common environment for you to do better, your team, and also other stakeholders of the project. So let's break it down, because BIM on the cloud is actually more straightforward than many believe. None of you have ever worked for Harland & Wolff, where the Titanic was designed, but I'm sure you remember the old days, setting up the paper on the desk, the massive T-square, line after line, with H2 pencil, with information grid, legend, project code, client name, etc. BIM is just new terminology for this old concept, with a framework and a methodology. The building is the structure which is being designed, whether a school, a factory, or a house. The key difference is the information, expanding the information grid and legend to include all sorts of information which will help the stakeholders to communicate and collaborate better on and off site. And the modeling, instead of drawing on paper, you instead design a model, building model on specialized software. So to go from the Lego model of the Empire State Building on the slide previously, we have a more practical application of it. Many of you already use Revit for designing and modeling. Then expand on that by having the information. And this is the I in BIM, data of the materials, labor cost of installing, etc. And then the information being layered according to the stakeholder role in the project and other sources. So the cloud is here to stay. So let's use it. At Cloudalize, we already use Microsoft 365 to access and share documents internally and externally. Some of us even use Google Photographs or iCloud Photographs to store photographs taken on a smartphone and access them online from a laptop, MacBook, or Surface. I've modified a PowerPoint on the train to be ready to go at 9:30 in the morning to give a presentation. So why not do this with BIM? Why not go one step further and do this with Cloudalize?
So Cloudalize can help you go forward because of our platform is easy to use and an intuitive platform that helps architects manage their IT infrastructure. Because of this platform, we offer your company the possibility to manage your own cloud workstations. These are powered by faster and more powerful graphical processing units, or GPUs, and turn any device into a supercharged computer in just a few minutes to be distributed over the internet to anyone who needs it. So this transforms your office into a digital office and offers you the mobility and flexibility on demand when you want. The cloud workstation is tailor-made and ideal for architects or designers who want to work remotely, but also for training centers that need to deliver a cloud work classroom for online training. The power of the GPU can be used by any device as long as you have a stable internet connection over 4G, 5G, or Wi-Fi, and you can access all your files, data, and projects on the cloud. It's simple and it's very clear. Because of all these elements, our solution is built for BIM. Our cloud workstations are built for technical and creative personnel. Next slide, please, Martin. So our cloud workstations are built for technical and creative personnel and transform any device into a powerful and mobile supercomputer to work from anywhere at any time. The unique cutting-edge technology is helping people in many different economic sectors, whether it's for faster rendering or enabling BIM or specialized distance learning courses. We can help you do it all with greater speed and performance. The three desktops you see before you are the possibilities that we can have in our cloud workstations. On the left, you have AutoCAD, in the middle, you have Fusion 3D, and on the right is Revit. All these three softwares are running on a MacBook with a Cloudalize workstation in the cloud. But how can Cloudalize enable your business or institution on BIM? As we know, building information modeling, or BIM, is gaining momentum to soon become the construction industry's chosen methodology for delivering projects. And while our cloud platform enables BIM for architects, our solution helps companies with the following core elements: the 3D modeling. So whatever BIM software you are using, is it Revit, Lumion, or other, you can design, develop, or draw on the cloud workstation. We have the BIM project files. So if you have drawn a model, you can store the file on our cloud storage and can be shared with your colleagues. So the project management for on-time delivery. So when costs, labor, and other elements are all built into the model, you can optimize the project results by increasing value to the owner, reduce waste, and maximize efficiency through all phases of design, fabrication, and construction. The real-time collaboration is because you have the file stored in a cloud storage and that can be shared with your colleagues, you can work together on the centralized model and save it again inside the cloud storage. We can transform any desktop in a supercomputer, so is the best-in-class tech performance, and deliver more speed and processing power on the go, thanks to our GPU technology. And we have a super secure cloud, because all the data in your files are in a tier 3 data center, and we have all the necessary security in place that makes our platform super secure. Now, we know that the standardization of processes is very important because it unifies teams and makes everyone work in the same way, whether you are working on site, in a subsidiary, or at the HQ or headquarters. Even if you have multiple divisions that need to work together or simply working from home, we generate a single digital environment from which you can work. Due to this, the common data environment lets you and your colleagues work in the same way and access the same files and projects. Whether you are on-site or off-site, due to the cloud, due to the cloud workstation, you can all access your files from the common data environment and keep working on the same files and collaborate in real time. Not only can you access these project files through the computer, but with any device or operating system, thus promoting the interconnectivity between devices and teams. But what if you have an external partner who needs access? Well, that's not really a problem, because depending who that person is, you can grant him access to either a desktop or the project file so that he or she can collaborate with you. So together with other built-in features, we augment the collaboration throughout the business or the building cycle. Now, we know that, or we have all seen the many pictures of building errors on the internet, whether it is a door that leads to nowhere or a room without a door. Construction errors happen. This bridge, for example, in Cleveland is just one example, but there are worse mistakes. Not all could have been prevented by BIM, but a lot of them could have. BIM 3D model can help you avoid mistakes by testing the model. For example, on clash control or dimension checks. But you can do much more. The 3D model gives you also the perfect opportunity to see what impact client design changes will have. Now, the project management. With the project management in BIM, you will integrate people, the system, business structures, and other practices into the process that collaboratively harness the talent and the insight of all stakeholders in a way that it is to optimize the project result, to increase the value for the owner, reduce waste, and maximize efficiency through all phases of design, fabrication, or construction. You can choose who has access and who has not. Thus, we promote the BIM methodology. The backbone of Cloudalize platform are the graphical processing units. And these GPUs are the future of modern computing and deliver greater processing power and graphical performance than the well-known central processing unit or CPU, and allows Cloudalize to deliver unbeatable performance for businesses and educational institutions. Now, with our technology, you can perform, as I said before, any computer into a supercharged computer, whether it's a Windows, a Mac, a tablet, or a phone, and you are capable of running BIM software, thus giving you more speed and processing power on demand from any location to run your software. Now, Cloudalize is a private solution with its own data center with security in its foundation stone, because we are committed to protect our most critical business assets, that is, your data. As a valued customer, you will benefit from an ISO-graded data center and a network architecture which is encrypted to meet safety concerns of even the most sensitive organizations. And we employ the industry best practices to ensure your data is protected against unauthorized and unwanted use. For example, if you're looking from the US, all the data from the US stays inside that country. Our tier 3 data center has a 3D level security and the backup generators for power, for example. And of course, a 24/7 security who is always on site. Now, you're probably wondering why you would go for Cloudalize. Well, you all heard about virtual or the traditional VDI. We simplify your IT. On the right, you see the model how we will work versus the local virtual desktop infrastructure or traditional VDI. The traditional VDI will have a huge investment capital cost. If it's securing or a secure air-conditioned room for the servers or for the building, the technology, you have to pay for equipment and hardware, but also the huge cost in maintenance, in which you need specialized IT knowledge. And you always have to need extra capacity, or you need to build for growth. So you have very low flexibility in the future. And then I'm not even talking yet about license management or energy costs and many others. So in a way, it's very expensive and involves a lot of planning and a lot of risk. So we help you solve this problem by offering a very simple and intuitive platform from which you can manage your desktops that can be accessed by any device or any operating system over the internet. So Cloudalize is flexible. You can scale up or down depending on your need, and you only pay for what you use and can be focused on your business. But how do we implement BIM? Well, after talking to our clients and asking them how they would start, we came up with the following. So BIM can be implemented by everyone, whether it's a beginning company or an expert. The trick is to start with one element and integrate this into the project. Test this, review, and of course, evaluate how it went. And after, you can add an extra element or an extra BIM layer and go from there. Now, there are a few new trends in architecture. For example, we have the golden thread concept. Because of BIM, you already have a centralized and virtual model, and all the information, all the data about the building is already inside that model. So you have your building's Wikipedia. And so the details on, for example, the model is already these details about how the building was designed, how it was built, but more you can add how it should be maintained. So it can be a living document also for the future, and you can add extra information as time goes by. And this can not only help you in the future, but it can also improve safety, of course. That brings us to the next one, which is data-driven design. All data is already inside the model, so design is backed up by that data. And imagine you need to design a family house, a task that is not easy. You need to think about the client's need, the expectations, and the design language. But not to mention, you have to understand the laws that govern how you can construct a home. You have data about the family that includes things like age or the size. And with this data system, an architect could pull all zoning data, building codes, and disable design data and generate design variations that allow certain design vocabulary and offer countless options. So you can use the digital model to design the rooms for its use and see how people will interact with them. And of course, if the interaction is as you like, you can keep it that way. If not, you can edit. And last but not least, we have the virtual reality. Virtual reality can be seen as the next step in building and is a real-time photorealistic walkthrough generated from a virtual model. This virtual walkthrough demonstrates how a building should look as it is already been built and can give the client a view on how his building will look. Because you only need a VR goggle, which are not very expensive, the barrier to entry is very low. And to give you a tip, Cloudalize is already testing this. That brings us a bit at the end of our presentation, and we can go over to our demonstration. today's demonstration is together with my colleague Koenraad, who is a technical and pre-sales engineer at Cloudalize. I'm currently working from Ghent, which is about 50 kilometers or 30 miles from Brussels, the Belgian capital. And then Koenraad is working from his house for the moment, who is 50 kilometers and 30 miles in the north of Brussels. Today we will try to simulate a very real life working conditions from two architects who are working together on a house in Revit and Lumion. And we will try to edit this because our client has some or needs to do have some changes to the house. So Koenraad, I will give the word to you.
Yes, hello everybody. So Cloudalize has built a easy-to-use platform. We have a portal we can log on to, which I will do now. So you enter the credentials. And when you've logged on to the portal, you get a view of your desktop or cloud workstations, or multiple cloud workstations. We have different types depending on your needs. So, and depending on the applications that you run. So I'll launch the desktop now. There are client applications for any OS. So I'm on a Mac, but we also have applications for Windows, Linux, and Android and iOS. So we are in the desktop now. It is a Windows-based desktop, so you can install any application you want. For the purpose of this demo, we are using Revit. So we have already opened Revit with a model of a house, which we will do some action from.
So I got confirmation from our client, of course, that he wants to edit the windows or the amount of windows on the side of the house. So he wants to remove that window. So the first one. Can you do that, please?
Yes, let's do this now. So we've removed it. Since this is a central model, I'll synchronize it with the central model. After which you can reload the changes on your machine.
Okay, I will try to share my screen. If Matthew can give me access to the sharing of the screen. Okay, so now I already opened a cloud workstation. I have started the Revit model. You can see that it is the old model. So I will try to first synchronize this. You see that it's automatically synchronized from that central model. And if I go into Lumion, you will see that it automatically edits as well. So with this model, I can go straight to the client and show him the model directly from my tablet. And that brings us a bit to the end of our demonstration. I will give you the screen back, Martin.
Yeah, show screen. So thank you, Koenraad and Eric, for that. As you saw, everyone, Cloudalize is very flexible. It allows people in multiple locations to work on the same BIM model. But now we will join our two, I hope our two panelists are still there, Alistair Lewis of Chamberlain Gaunt Architects in the UK, and also Ben Agents of BIM's consultancy in Belgium. And it's now actually time for questions and answers, if anyone has it. Or
Hi, Martin. Questions from the audience have come through to you in the chat.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. As COVID recedes, however long that will take and people start returning to the job site, do you think features like real-time collaboration will be as relevant? Has COVID changed what's in demand permanently? So who wants to begin?
I can start if that's okay. So just to give you a little bit of background, we're a firm of architects with 50 people. We had 2 different offices, and we've been using Cloudalize for about 3 years now. And I think what has happened is that we know COVID hopefully will recede next year, and I think that's obviously everyone's aim. But the fact that we were using this system prior to that allowed us a lot of flexibility to get everyone up and running, working from home straight away. We didn't have any particular issues with trying to set people up or get them hardware and all the rest of it sorted out. So we were able to just keep our workflow running in that manner. And I think a lot of people have seen that over the next year. A lot of people probably don't want to go back to the office full time, and we're going to have to be a lot more flexible with people who have got very used to working from home. And as I say, the Cloudalize system has allowed us to support that flexibility and really say to people, you can work in the office, you can work from home, or wherever that needs to be. So some of our members of staff, they went back home to different countries. So there's one girl in Scotland, and there was another girl in Poland as well. But they managed to go back there during the lockdown, continue working, and obviously, have a more kind of healthier balance and work life, I suppose.
Ben?
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing about the platform is that it's really flexible. So it gives you access from, well, wherever you are, as the demonstration showed. We also use it for training situations. It doesn't matter where you are, what kind of situation there is. Like now there is COVID, maybe, well, in a few years there's something else, but no one knows how this continues. It gives you the ability to continue your work with all the strength and all the performance issues you have on traditional hardware. This platform, reduces that a lot. And of course, you need internet access, but well, when don't you need in what situation you don't need an internet connection? So yeah.
But for our understanding, how did you do real-time collaboration in the past? Or was it a concept? Or was it just a nice to have when you went to a project manager and said, oh, we can do real-time collaboration? So then what my question is, how do you did it in the past? And then how will then Cloudalize help? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there wondering that.
Yeah, so I'll start. Our practice around 3 years ago, when I started, was a fairly traditional practice in the way that we produced and managed information. So fairly 2D, using a 2D CAD package, and that's how we coordinate with our consultants by sending them DWGs, PDFs, that sort of type of information. In the 3 years since then, we have moved on to using Revit. We're using obviously BIM authoring software. We're doing crash detection, and we're using the Cloudalize system. And one of the main things about that is with Revit, when it comes to synchronizing models across offices, it's a lot easier if you have a centralized server. So one of the big problems that I think some companies have run into during this COVID period is that people have taken hardware home. They've then used a VPN connection into their office environment. They're then trying to synchronize a model from their home to the office, and then someone else is trying to synchronize with that as well. And for large complex models, I've been told, I discussed with Excitech, who are a large kind of provider of Revit software in this country, that people are having to book like half-an-hour slots to try and synchronize models, because it was, doing it over a VPN, it really depends on someone's internet connection. It can get really complex and difficult, whereas the Cloudalize system has allowed us to have a centralized server. Everyone's working off a virtual environment. Their internet connection doesn't have to be that great. I've used it on a very low kind of copper line here to start with, and it still works. And we can centralize and manage that information a lot quicker. So that's in terms of that kind of collaboration. That's where we're seeing currently how that works best for us.
Yeah, maybe to add on that, don't forget the maintenance part. So all updates and all things, they can be done semi or automatically. So compared to the traditional service solutions or VDI, this is really easy now.
Alistair, when we were preparing this webinar, I remember that you quoted someone in an academic report. How much was the cost of setting up a person with DVI or with a different laptop? If you can share that information with everyone.
Right on cue, my dog's barking in the background. So when we were looking into options, we did have a discussion with a provider, and there was quoting around £10,000 for a system to be set up, at least, if not more, depending on the size of the Citrix environment and hardware that you need to put in. And we looked at that, and we were very keen, obviously, to avoid those sort of costs. And I think one of the questions here is about how is the system set up and how easy is it to set up? And essentially, when we went to Cloudalize and we talked them through what we wanted, they support us the whole way. I don't know if it's different now, but at that time it was at no cost to us. You'd have to discuss that with them. But they set up the whole system, and as Ben said, they manage all of the PC side of things. So in our organisation, we're completely Mac-based. We're not experts in managing PCs up, and all the sort of patches and all that sort of stuff. And that's completely managed by Cloudalize for us, which is great. And it means that we're also on the most up-to-date software. So in terms of security, that's managed really well. And it makes it, it's a lot simpler. And obviously we're paying for the use that we have. And that's been really effective for us as I suppose, a medium-sized practice. It's been a really good way to introduce it.
Yeah, it's a Cloudalize as a pay-as-you-go model. It's a bit like, so it's quite flexible as well on that. The question, one of the questions here is, has COVID changed what's in demand permanently regarding, but I don't know, there's nothing else to that. So we'll try to answer that question afterwards, after the webinar. So Eric, there's one for you. You've mentioned security. I've watched a few webinars from similar companies, and not one has mentioned this, despite how important it is. Can you expand on how you would approach a data breach if it were to happen? What policies are in place to ensure it is handled quickly and professionally?
Okay, I think that's more of a technical question, so I will probably give the word to Koenraad.
Yes, certainly. So there's of course a lot of sides on the security, but our system is very well built up, as also explained in the webinar or in the presentation. In terms of security, for one, the data is all encrypted on the physical side. Then second, every customer on our platform is segregated, isolated in their own environment, both from a network perspective as well as a data perspective. That's all. That all obviously is needed to ensure the security. Of course, we have if a breach were to happen, which hasn't happened before, knock on wood, of course, we will handle this as quickly as possible. We obviously have all of the standard practices in place in terms of backups and policies to restore all data if there were to be a data breach.
Okay, just to expand on that. Yeah, just to expand on what Koenraad said a little bit, there is a standard SLA for every customer, and also we have a certified data protection officer who will take complete command in this unlikely eventuality, and he's also trained in US regulation and EU regulation, and he's advising the company also on GDPR implementation and extension going towards what's the new legislation coming from the UK, also from the EU and other bodies in Switzerland. I know for one, he mentioned to me the other day. So as regarding security, Cloudalize is quite secure, and we'll expand again on what Eric said during the presentation. We're a private cloud company, so the resources are not shared with anyone else. It's not like Google or AWS or everything. You are literally on an island, private island like Mustique out in the Caribbean. That's Cloudalize. So, and that's how secure we are. Right. Could you expand on the implementation process? What support is offered to ensure implementation is properly done and tailored to individual needs? I think Kunrad, again.
But you mean the implementation of the cloud workstations or BIM, or what is the?
It just says the implementation process. So let's say we'll take the cloud workstations first, and what is offered by Cloudalize, how do you get set up, the whole process there, and then we will take it further with Alistair and probably Ben to discuss about BIM.
Okay, so you want to answer, Kunrad, or?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it really depends on the specific situation of the customer, right? Every customer is different, but yeah, we will look together with the customer on what their setup is, how they want to move to our platform. Do they want to move data? Do they want to do things differently, maybe through VPN? And then work out a plan on implementing that, and making sure that everything is handled as efficient as possible. So we are, I think, we are very approachable in that sense, to agree on these things and discuss a plan and implement it as efficient as possible.
We can also add the following, is that we first will look at what softwares you are using. So depending on the software, we will help you decide on a virtual desktop. That's one. And then after, if you say, okay, yes, let's go over to an implementation, we will set up one virtual machine for cloud workstation for you to install all the softwares that you will need or your colleagues will need. And from there on, you can actually duplicate the first blueprint, as we call it, or a golden image, and you can duplicate that golden image to multiple users. And that makes our implementation very fast, because you don't need to install all the software on different virtual machines. You can just do it once and then just copy it to all the other users. To give you an example, we did an implementation for seven architects. We can do that, let's say, in a day.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and just to expand on the bit of it of the tailored Cloudalize, again, the guys internally, like Kunrad, are the ones who built it, are maintaining it, and know it. So it's like a bit like going to, Alice will probably know this reference more, Savile Row for a suit in London. But you're having a tailored and premium service when you come to Cloudalize, and it's still cost effective. So, and we can also, because we all know the software and the technology, we can tailor it then to specifically your needs. Even if you're in architecture, construction, media and entertainment, or engineering, and so forth, the guys inside and girls, in fact, know what they're doing, and they have many years of experience on this level. So the other question here is, what features would you like to see or a plan? No, I go back to now, because I skipped a little bit. What about the implementation of BIM? Let's say, Alistair, how did you start in BIM? And how would you advise people to go from step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4?
Okay, so the way I've done it in my last 2 organizations is to have a pilot project where you start project where you may not have used Revit previously, so it may be about an exercise in starting a project, utilizing Revit and getting to grips with that, and then progressing on to the next project, where you start collaborating with other consultants and developing that understanding. Or it may be that you might be managing more of the data side of it and how you manage information. So generally you need someone in the organization that to trial this out and to engage with it and really kind of, I suppose, enjoy that process. In my organization it's me, and in other organizations you'll find people who are BIM champions, who are really engaged and really find the field of technology and the digitization of construction really interesting. And I think in most practices you will find someone who enjoys that process, and that's usually the best way to do it. I think it's really useful to have some sort of management support. It's very hard to get decisions made if you don't have someone who will back you up. And I've been very fortunate in the past where I've had that, and that person has said, let's do a pilot project, let's move it forward. And what we do is we do the first project, and then usually that goes well. Then we do 2 projects, then we do 4, and then it grows exponentially from there, because the more people see those benefits of BIM in terms of reduction in clashes, greater coordination, speed of production of the information, the more people want to get involved with it. And as I said, in the last 2 organizations, we've gone from 1 project in year 1, and currently at ACG now, we're doing more than 10 projects in Revit, and that's within a 3-year time span.
Okay. Ben, would you like to share your experiences?
Yeah, I think it's good to add on what Alistair mentioned, that it's a really scalable platform. So I think in the end, it doesn't matter if you work as an independent person to whether you want to have your bureau of 50 employees, working on a closed BIM or working on open BIM. And you can, as Eric mentioned, you can make silent users. So all programs and software is already there, so you can add a user, and it's minutes to add a user. So that's really powerful. Yeah. So if you have a large project or a simple project, it doesn't matter. The system is scalable for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Capacity management. All right, we'll move on to the next question here, and I think it's more from Cloudalize because it's about features and what features will Cloudalize develop in the future, and what would you like to see developed?
Well, I can certainly start with that, is because I talk every day with our clients. We have a roadmap, or we built a roadmap with a lot of features that have been mentioned before. Unfortunately, we cannot build everything at once, and so we do have a roadmap. There are some features that are on the roadmap that will be developed in the future and are in development phase. So for now, the platform works for all architect companies. There are some features that are being built, for example, especially for educational purposes. But for now it's a complete platform for architects, designers, or construction companies. So Konrad, I will let you elaborate a little bit.
Yeah.
Unless you want to say something more.
No. I was going to say, do you want to tell people what you've been doing with VR recently? Just touch on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's a nice project, of course. So VR is very nice, but it requires a heavy PC, a heavy GPU specifically, which most people do not have. So what Cloud Workstations can do is moving that processing power, GPU power, to the cloud, and then streaming just the image to the VR headset, to a wireless VR headset. And with the coming of 5G, which will enable a very low latency, because the time it takes for images to come from the cloud to the VR headset are very important, because of otherwise you get nauseous very fast. With the coming of 5G, and the technology becoming mature, that's becoming a reality. So that's going to be a nice feature in the next years, I would say. And then other than that, there's always a lot of things that can be developed or can be added on our platform. But as Eric mentioned, we have a roadmap. We also listen a lot to what our customers are asking us to implement. A nice feature, maybe to give one, because the list is endless, so to speak. A nice feature that is coming in the future is hibernation, where you can put the cloud workstation in a sort of a sleep state, and when you start it up again, you have all of your applications. So the thing with cloud workstations, of course, is you pay per use. So it's very important to have the cloud workstation shut off when you're not using it. Of course, when you shut off, every program is stopped, right? So with the hibernation, we can put that into a sleep mode, and when you start the machine again, the cloud workstation again, all of the applications are there again. So that will be a very, very useful feature, I think, for a lot of companies.
Just to clarify, Konrad mentioned the coming of 5G. Because Cloudalize is located in Belgium, we're still waiting. But we are aware that other countries have 5G already. For example, Switzerland, Ireland, Spain, for example. So if you're located in any of those countries, Cloudalize is going to work on your mobile phone, and it's going to work in the sticks, fogs, or in the forests of, or the campo in Madrid. But okay. I go to another question here. Do you offer design calculation services like for Autodesk robots or Midas Design? This software crashes on my computer a lot.
Well, it depends a bit on the question. If you know, if the question is, do we offer him help in how much it's going to cost to run these softwares in the cloud, then the question is yes, of course. We will, if we know all the softwares that you are using, we will help you in calculating how much it will cost per month, for example. So that is not a problem.
I would just add to that, sorry Martin, is that whoever, I'm not sure about that user, that question, in the sense, if it's crashing their particular computer a lot, it's probably because their computer hasn't got the right specification, and it would be really, it's going to be really good to just examine that and understand what that is. But what you can have with the Cloudalize system is there are different, they call them blueprints, which I mentioned earlier, but different specifications for those machines. So you've got a basic level, which I think is 16 gig of RAM, and it's a very good basic level. And then you've got more high specification machines as you go up. So if you've got a piece of software which is very intensive, and I'm not sure, I mean, robot's an Autodesk product, but if they are very high use in memory and RAM and things, then you can select the appropriate specification, which is one of the big benefits to this, is because software requirements are going up and up and up, with Cloudalize, you can change that up each time it moves and gets more complex. So I think that's one of the great benefits of this, rather than buying a piece of hardware and then in 2 or 3 years it's redundant. You actually you can buy a fairly simple piece of hardware that will run a Cloudalize environment, and then the power will come from that side of it.
Okay. Just to clarify, Cloudalize does not offer packages with Autodesk or anything. You just buy the platform as such, and then, as Alistair said, you run your license software on Cloudalize, and it's in the cloud. So I'll go on to another question. Can you use this, well, this meaning Cloudalize, with any kind of CAD tools? What if you want to add DMS inspection tools? Is that also possible?
So the Cloudalize workstation can work with any kind of CAD tool. So we have, I think now already more than 100 softwares that are being run by our clients. all over the world. So I don't think there is, well, there is a CAD software or tool that is not already been used on our virtual machines. So I think it's possible. And of course, you can also add other softwares.
It's a fully functional Windows-based desktop machine on the cloud. The difference is with Cloudalize is it's powered by a GPU, which is it's like what did Eric say, 1,000 times faster and more processing power.
Correct.
Than average Mac or laptop. So power is not an issue. And we already have some customers running a lot of different packages simultaneously on Cloudalize at once, and they suffer no downtime or no lag or so forth. Okay, I'll move on to the next question. It's quite simple. It's do you have data centers in the US? Yes, we do. So we service the US also. And I'll move on then to another question. Does this potentially allow multi-discipline to work on one model, allowing for individual professional indemnity consideration? Of course, I mean, rather than having lots of models that have to be federated to each to see a full view of the project. Wow. So, Eric, do you want to take that one?
I'm going to read the question first again. 1 second.
Well, I'm happy to jump in if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
The answer to that is yes, you could have multiple disciplines working on the same model via the same server. And it is something that we have looked at. We haven't done it yet, but I mean, each of those different consultants would have to have access to the Cloudalize desktop. But we've got 13 currently. We could give those login details to let's say an engineer, and they could log in and start working collaboratively. And I think that is the aim of where we would like to be going. I think obviously there's a consideration, you mentioned it here, about indemnity and everything, but that should be covered off in your appointment and any other sort of your BIM protocol to confirm that. So I've always been of the view that we should all just start working together as much as possible, and this is an environment that actually progresses to that point quite quickly, I think.
Yeah, and to follow up on what you said, there was a project in Switzerland between, I think, 6 different companies. There was the contractor, there was the client, there was so forth, and there was many different engineering roles. I think it was about 20 different engineering roles. There was about 50. Kunrad knows what I'm talking about. And that was in multidisciplined engineering projects. And at the end of the project, everything was running on Cloudalize because the contractor had Mac, the engineering company then had Windows, and they needed a software or a system on which to unify and standardize, as Eric and I mentioned, and Cloudalize was it. So that is possible with us. And Kunrad was very excited when that project started, and he was spending hours and hours and hours on the telephone.
Well, it's also the good thing is that if you have additional people that need to contribute, you can actually just deploy an extra desktop in minutes instead of going to or need to buy new hardware and then installing all the software. In our case, so Cloudalize can actually help you deploy an extra desktop in let's say 5 minutes, and then you can just send the credential to that person and he can start working. So that actually also helps in the speed of things.
Yeah, true. There is 2 more questions, but I'll answer them. We'll probably answer them afterwards by email, because I see now it's coming up to 56 and I still need to say a few things. So Matthew, can you pass me over the control of the presentation? Or do I have
Yeah,
it?
Martin, we're on your screen now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So I think we did the key learning points here. You already have all the skills to use BIM. You already know the software. You have Revit. You might have even pre-existing licenses on from other different vendors. It all works on Cloudalize as long as it's Windows. It's for Windows, and also you can run all of this on a Mac or an Android or on iOS. And BIM is a step-by-step process. So you start small, as Alistair and Ben mentioned, and then you build on that and find your champion within the organization to help you streamline and to push, and you will achieve. And then Cloudalize is BIM enabled from the cloud or on premises. So if you're a bigger organization and you need GPU power that you don't have internally at the moment, we still do it. And our deployment and services there is called Private GPU Cloud. So moving on to special thanks to, of course, Ben from BIM's consultancy in Heverlee in Belgium. That's outside Leuven. If anyone has never been there, I'd recommend going to Leuven. There's Alex. Yeah, someone wants to say something?
No, okay. It's okay. Go ahead.
Then there's Alistair from IR Chamber and Gaunt in Basingstoke in the UK. Thank you very much, Alistair, for sharing your experiences of Cloudalize. And then to our sponsors, which is Flanders Investment and Trade, who helped finance this webinar. So I hope, like Alistair, you will imagine, create, and visualize a new world on Cloudalize, if not today, some point in the future. You can use Cloudalize for training, as Ben mentioned, or you can use Cloudalize to do whatever you want in whatever discipline that you find yourself. And we will guide you step by step through the implementation process and also help as much as possible with BIM or any other things which may go wrong or you want to do, in fact. And I leave Eric's Tinder profile up here. You can contact him with questions, comments, or any other little things that you want to find out. I think that's it, unless anyone else wants to mention something else. No? Okay. All right. Matthew?
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Martin, and to Eric, Alistair, Ben, Conrad as well for joining today's discussion. So everyone in the audience will receive an on-demand copy of today's session via email within the next 24 hours. And you can also watch this session and all of our previous panel discussions and presentations free on demand at festivalofdigitalconstruction.com. So today's session was the final webinar for the Festival of BIM and Digital Construction this year. But if you'd like more BIM related content, you can register free for London Build Online, which is taking place next week from the 23rd of November to the 2nd of December. So there'll be plenty of BIM and digital content within that and presentations and panel discussions taking place across multiple days, including November 23rd and November 24th. So we hope you enjoyed today's webinar and look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you, everyone, and stay safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.